I just wanted to make a video of this because I keep getting messages in this, and probably about a message a month, about so-and-so broke off a ROCOR, or they broke off a ROCOR, so they're not in union with the Orthodox Church. ROCOR, up until 0809, was not part of the Eastern Orthodox Church. They were schismatic, and in their schism, they became extremely, there were factions of them that became extremely heretical, and people who are in current ROCOR churches that will not go back into reunion. And there's still this thing in ROCOR, they look down, they fully embrace toll houses, while there was the inkling of the toll. The toll houses of Seraphim Rose are different from this monastic practice, and there's much monastic language and practices, or not practices, just parables or things like that are for the monastic world. What's good for the monastic is not necessarily what's good for the masses, and what's good for the masses is not necessarily what's good for the monastics. ROCOR's developed many screwy ideas. They've even gotten into end time stuff, saying that the 1,000-year reign of Christ was the Byzantine Empire, and that God so blessed the world that it stretched over that until to Tsar Nicholas. Basically, they were White Russians. These were the White Russians. And ROCOR remained out of union with the Orthodox Church, and basically, it's not that they condemned Moscow. They under Stalinist rule, which nobody trusted Moscow. Under the communist rule. So you say, okay, Moscow has gone corrupt, therefore now I'm going to reject every Orthodox church, whether it's on any continent, those in all of the Middle East, in all of Europe, in all of North America, in all of South America, in Australia, in China and Japan. They are now all apostate because of what the communists did in Russia. If anyone breaks away from ROCOR, or had broken away from ROCOR before 08, good. It's an honorable act. And many have come out showing that ROCOR, while being independent and unchecked, sexual harassment, the sexual abuse, molestation, things like that were fostered in there. ROCOR's back, yay, except they still, it's going to take a while for them to normalize. And maybe they should not, I don't even think they should have been accepted in with such economia. They should have been led by getting this a tough subject. They broke away from ROCOR. Good. ROCOR shouldn't even exist to this day. It should go back as Russian Orthodox Church, or it properly should be in the United States is OCA. I'm kind of glad it's not OCA, but now we have ROAC, which is ROCOR non-united, which also calls themselves the catacomb churches. and it gets very cult-like. After my parish was destroyed, I was thinking of going to ROAC, and they said, if you attend your grandmother's funeral, you'll be under anathema, because you entered into a Catholic church. They're not guided by love, not guided by the spirit of the church. They're guided by Pharisaic or Sadduceic. I mean, it's almost something demonic. Who is their guide if it's not Christ? Good intent, good thing. You stopped listening to the Stalinists. Yes, good thing. Well intended. The road to what is paved with good intentions? Please answer that for me. And ROCOR has hid things from its parishioners before. Recently I was talking to somebody. This is not years ago or months. I mean, weeks ago I was talking to somebody, and they said, you know, I never knew any of these things that Seraphim Rose taught. I always liked him. I always liked what he said. But I never even heard of the toll houses or this, because it's so embarrassing. Now, if people want to say the reign of Christ or the what's in the Apocalypse of John foreshadowed a Christian rule for 1,000 years. That was basically a 1,000-year rule. I mean, from time of Theodosius until the collapse is 1,000 years. Till the Muslims, and there was even a foreshadowing of the fall when they were processing with the icon of the Incarnation. It fell into the mud, and I think the next day the walls were overtaken. And Constantinople is under occupation. Now, I'm not particularly one of those people saying that we should go get it back, but people say, well, it's not Constantinople anymore, it's Istanbul. Istanbul means this city in Greek, and that was under Ataturk. Even the Muslims called it Constantinople. It's Constantinople. And you say, well, it's the Muslims. Well, Ataturk changed the language of prayer from Arabic to Turkish. He was considering Christianizing his country to make it a Turkish state, or switching to other religions. He really tampered with Islam because he was a nationalist. I mean, the Young Turks, they were for Turkish nationalism. And let's not forget that that's Anatolia, it's not Turkey. The Turks did not come from there. The Turks came from Central Asia. Anatolia, for all purposes, was European. Just like when I had to write a paper, or an essay. Paper, essay, same thing. And the question was, is Egypt Africa? State your position, and what? Yes or no, state your position, and why. I said no. Now, yeah, geographically, yes, but I mean, if you look culturally, it's not. It's Mediterranean and it's Middle Eastern. That there's, even though it's on the same continent, I mean, when taking it as whole, and this is the African history class that I had to take, and most people's positions were that. Now, if you want to say, oh, well, within the political borders, if you go farther south, well, that can't even hold, because then they kept citing stuff that was in Sudan or Somalia or stuff like that. And say, oh, but at one point that was Egypt, or in some these random things, or well, there wasn't really borders, so we might assume that that could have been Egypt, and somebody even had a connection. Well, since the Nile runs and it comes from, that's like saying Illinois is part of Canada, since the rivers come down and they merge and they go to the Mississippi, and Illinois is the greatest shoreline with the Mississippi than any other state, or something like that. Or an argument between that and the Delta and Louisiana, because there's all these little weird islands and inlets and stuff in the Delta area. That has more. I mean, it just gets silly. But yeah, no, it's kind of a sidetrack again. My mind does wander. ROCOR. Oh, I can't buy. Even if you buy an icon, if you purchase an icon from a place that maybe their theology isn't totally correct, if it's valid iconography, if it's done canonically, it's taken as a valid icon. Now, monastery icons, them being a cult, yes, that's very bad. And their iconography is extremely bad and very uncanonical. And they make icons of people who are, they make icons of heretics. They make icons of pagans. Those aren't icons. And their iconography is even bad. I gave reliable sources. Holy Transfiguration Monastery. It's a Greek Orthodox monastery. They have good icons. I like the quality of their icons. Come and see icons. Some of the icons, they're very modernistic, not modernistic as if it looks like they photoshopped, like a picture of a person's face, but they're done in some of the styles I don't like. Nicholas Pappas, a lot of his I don't mind, some of his I actually like. And they also do reproductions of very ancient ones. And Skeet Monastery. The only problem I have with Skeet is that they took like 3.5 months to ship me the icons, because one of the icons, they didn't have it in stock, and this and that, and it took a wild amount of time to get it. But see this, the Virgin of Guadalupe. I don't know if you can make it out. That's actually a valid icon. In Central American Orthodox churches, they'll use that for the incarnation icon. So if you got an icon from someplace that's fully canonical, don't worry about the writer of that icon, or I have trouble with Rublev's icon, the Hospitality of Abraham. People calling the icon of the Trinity. I think that breaks the Seventh Ecumenical Council. It's the Hospitality of Abraham. It's not the Trinity icon. And it's called the Hospitality of Abraham. So, they broke away from ROCOR. I was happy, as if that's like an indictment against, because this person was very worried about it. Was somebody had bought an icon, they were very worried about it. This is, I'm worried about it because they broke away from ROCOR, and or that Archbishop Lazar Paulo broke away from ROCOR. He saw the corruption inside there. He saw the fanaticism and the strange teachings, and he said, nope, and he's OCA, which has always been part of the Orthodox Church, which was the original church, the first Orthodox Church in Russia, which was the Russian Orthodox Church that became the OCA. And I might have, little small grievances with some things of the OCA practices and decisions that they've made. Did I totally disavow? No. Parish I currently attend, which I will be attending a different parish, an Antiochian one, soon. But ROCOR, they were separated for, what, over 80 years? I think 90 years exactly, and they come back, and it's not as if they've stripped off all their stuff. They just said, oh, well, now that we recognize there's no communists in charge. But you broke with all the other sees. The only one that they had the only one they were in communion with was this little old calendarist Greek church that was in some island in Greece. So Antioch lost apostolic succession. Constantinople lost apostolic. I mean, how did this happen? Because of what happened in Russia, because of a brutal takeover in Russia, hostile takeover. Now every Orthodox parish outside of Russia is now an anathema. And if you say, well, this icon was reproduced or by a somebody who was heretical, or their teachings were a little bit off, or this and that, that is Donatism. Even if ROCOR reproduced the icon of any ancient icon, anyone. The Madonna of Poland, or any ancient icon. If they reproduced that and it came into my possession, I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to throw this away, because it's valid. Like I said, even the Virgin of Guadalupe is seen as a valid icon. Do we have to know who wrote every single icon? No, most icons are anonymous. So that's my little rant on that. Take it easy, peace to you, may God save Serbia. They were white Russians. These were the white Russians. And ROCOR remained out of union with the Orthodox Church, and basically, it's not that they condemned Moscow. They under Stalinist rule, which nobody trusted Moscow. Under the communist rule. So you say, okay, Moscow has gone corrupt, therefore now I'm going to reject every Orthodox church, whether it's on any continent, those in all of the Middle East, in all of Europe, in all of North America, in all of South America, in Australia, in China and Japan. They are now all apostate because of what the communists did in Russia. I just wanted to make a video of this because I keep getting messages in this, and probably about a message a month about so-and-so broke off a ROCOR, or they broke off a ROCOR, so they're not in union with the Orthodox Church. ROCOR, up until 08-09, was not part of the Eastern Orthodox Church. They were schismatic, and in their schism, they became extremely, there were factions of them that are for the monastic world. What's good for the monastic is not necessarily what's good for the masses, and what's good for the masses is not necessarily what's good for the monastics. ROCOR has developed many screwy ideas they've even gotten into end time stuff, saying that the 1,000-year reign of Christ was the Byzantine Empire, and that God so blessed the world that it stretched over that until to Tsar Nicholas. Basically, it's extremely heretical, and people who are in current ROCOR churches that will not go back into reunion. And there's still this thing in ROCOR, they look down. I mean, they fully embrace toll houses, while there was the inkling of the toll. I mean, the toll houses of Seraphim Rose are different from this monastic practice, and there's much monastic language and practices, or not practices, just parables or things like that